Hey guys, this is Captain Lincoln with Fireteam Whiskey, and I'm excited to bring you a recipe I actually got from one of our Fireteam members, Jill Hebron, for a birthday cake. So one of my good friends, Dr. Christy Harvell, is turning 40 this weekend. I'm going to her birthday party, and she asked me to make her a keto cake. And you may remember Dr. Christy Harvell from 3 of our Warrior Wellness videos. She is super smart. She is a kinesiologist, she's a chiropractor, and a clinical nutritionist. So she knows and understands how important it is to make sure she stays on track and to get the healthiest version as possible for her birthday cake. So she entrusted me with this, so we're going to experiment because I've actually never made a keto birthday cake. I've made keto cupcakes before, so pretty much the same concept. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So let me run through these ingredients with you. So I'll first take you through the actual cake making process, then we're going to make the frosting, and then I'm going to make it pretty and hopefully it tastes great too. So let's start with our ingredients. So we have, actually I have the oven already being preheated right now at 350. You're going to need 2 8x8 cake tins. I use the disposable ones because, you know, I'm traveling and I don't want to clean a pan. So they need to be oiled. So what I used to oil them was just this coconut oil spray. So you just oil them so things won't stick. All right, let's look at our dry ingredients for this is almond flour, coconut flour. You're gonna need some sort of granulated sugar substitute. So whatever your favorite one is, it needs to be granulated, like, you know, a sugar substitute. So for this one, I'm using the stevia in the raw. Baking powder and some salt. So I'm using Himalayan sea salt. The wet ingredients are coconut oil or ghee, or you can do both. I'm gonna do both in this recipe because I don't have enough ghee. So I'm gonna go ahead and supplement the rest for the coconut oil. And I think the buttery taste is really important. So adding the ghee, I think, is good to put in a cake. We're gonna need coconut milk. You're going to need some vanilla extract. And then you're gonna need some eggs. So let's go ahead and get started. Remember this rule of thumb. You mix all the wet ingredients together first, and then you mix all the dry ingredients together second, and then you mix it all together, or vice versa. But just wet with wet, dry with dry, and then mix them all together, and then smooth it all out and make a nice batter. So be careful. The recipe calls for 1 1/4 cup of ghee or coconut oil. I'm doing both. So I've got my warmed up coconut oil. I warmed it up in a cup of this glass jar here in the microwave. So be careful, it's hot oil obviously, so just be careful with that and don't burn yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and pour this into my mixing bowl. And that ghee smells amazing. It smells like, you know that popcorn, big popcorn butter at the movie theater? That's what it smells like. So I've got 1/4 cup of that. So add that nice buttery flavor to our cake. And of course you can do all ghee. I would have done all ghee, but you know, I didn't have enough, so we're gonna go on with that. All right, the next one is full fat coconut milk. So make sure you get unsweetened coconut milk and that it is full fat. So I got this organic Trader Joe's and it is 13.5 ounces. So I'm just gonna measure this out because I need 2 cups. And it might be solid if you kept it in the refrigerator. It could be possibly solid at the top, so you're gonna have to kind of like break through that and maybe even warm it up to get it going into your recipe. All right, so I'm gonna measure out my coconut milk here, make sure that I have 2 full cups. You might have some coconut chunks in that, that's okay. You'll work those out when we whisk it up. All right, so that full can was 2 cups. That's great. Okay, next of the wet ingredients is the tablespoon of vanilla. I'm gonna go ahead and just drop that in there. Oh, that smells so good. Okay, and then our last of our wet ingredients is the 5 eggs. So we're gonna go ahead and just drop those right in here. All right, we're gonna mix up the wet ingredients here. It's all in a bowl here, and if you have a mixer, you can use that. If not, that's okay. You don't need one, but it definitely makes it go by a little bit faster. I'm gonna use the lowest setting here. That's all mixed up, so let's get to the dry ingredients. All right, our dry ingredients. So we're gonna go ahead and put together a 2 1/4 cup of almond flour. Got my almond flour. That's 1. And 2. Gotta get my 1/4 of a cup here. And 1/4. All right, next one is the 3/4 cup coconut flour. So this is gonna add that kind of sweet taste to it. All right. Okay, next one is the baking powder. 2 teaspoons. All right, next one is the whatever sugar alternative that you chose. I chose the stevia and the raw, so it needs to be like granulated, like, you know, like the consistency of sugar. So it calls for 1/2 cup. Okay, so that's all of our dry ingredients. So I'm going to go ahead and just mix this all together. You don't need a mixer for this. You will need a mixer for the next step. So just get all of that flour and sugar kind of mixed in there. Oh, it already smells fantastic. Okay, so now we're going to mix the wet and dry ingredients together, and we're going to bake ourselves a cake. Okay, so going back to that mixer, I'm going to just start on a low setting and get this all blended up together. All right, so you should have a batter-like substance, so it shouldn't be too wet, it shouldn't be too dry, it should be just right where it's going to pour out of the bowl. Okay, so you've probably made cakes before, you know what the batter consistency is supposed to be. So if it's too wet, add a little bit more flour. If it's too dry, then add a little bit maybe of the melted ghee or the melted coconut oil. But we're ready to pour. So let's get our Coke pans. And I'm just going to start in the middle here, work my way out. All right, so that's about half the batter, and I'm just going to create this layer cake here at the end. So we're going to do 2. If you pile it all in together, obviously the cook time is going to be a little longer. But I've got a really good idea for a layer cake, so I'm excited about this. Okay, so off in the oven they go. So the recipe calls for about 45 minutes. I'm going to set the timer for 30 and just check on them, and you know, make sure that if you insert a fork or a toothpick in the middle, that it comes out nice and moist, and that it's not completely wet, but it's also not really, really dry and cracked on the top. So definitely set your timer for 30 minutes, watch it like every 5 and make sure. that it cooks to consistency. Okay, while the cake is baking, we're gonna go ahead and make the frosting, because I mean, what's cake without frosting, right? I mean, you gotta have it. So I have here 2 cups of softened butter. We're gonna need our vanilla extract again. You're gonna need the coconut milk again. And then the new ingredient that we have here is a confectioner's sugar. So you are gonna need a powdered sugar replacement, okay? This is kind of hard to find. So you may have to special order it. One of the local grocery stores carries this, and it's not the health food store. So usually the bigger grocery stores might have something like this. So you're looking for a confectioner's sugar replacement. Okay, so don't use regular powdered sugar. Get a sugar replacement for this. And this is excellent. I've used it before. I'm doing like a cream cheese based frostings. So really just like cream cheese, butter, and this makes the best cream cheese based icing as well. So this is awesome when it comes to making frosting for anything. So have this on hand. All right, so we have our 2 cups of softened butter. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this in our big mixing bowl. So that's 4 sticks of butter, by the way. That's what icing is, basically, is butter and sugar. Keto Dream. Yum. All right. Next ingredient is the 2 cups of powdered sugar. Open this up. I had to go to 3 different grocery stores to find this. All right, so that's 1. Whoop, a little too much there. And 2. Then we need our 6 tablespoons of full fat coconut milk. So I'm opening a new can here. Okay, made a big mess of that. And last thing, 1 tablespoon of our vanilla extract. It's getting crazy here. I'm making a big mess. It's coconut milk everywhere. All right, so now we're gonna mix that up. All right, the key to making an icing and mixing an icing is you probably wanna start with just mashing the ingredients together and then slowly building up to being able to mix it. And you want the consistency to not be too wet, right? You want it to, you know, hang on to the cake and not saturate the cake. But we also don't want it to be too dry, right? So we might have to play around and add a little bit more of the confectioner's sugar replacement, but we will see. Let's get this kind of pressed together, especially with those coconut oil chunks. Those kind of add something a little bit more unique to this icing. All right. So you can see right now it's already starting to kind of take on that consistency of icing. So I'm going to go ahead and use my low setting. Wow, this looks really good. Look how beautiful that is. So look, it's nice and sticky. It's sticking to the bowl. But how does it taste? Here's the true moment. So definitely taste it and make sure that it's sweet enough. We may want to add a little bit more sweetener. Wow, that's buttery. Tastes sweet, even though it doesn't have any sugar in it. And a little kind of back end of the vanilla. Really, really good. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna cover this and put it in the fridge. So it'll be ready for icing when we're ready to ice the cake. All right, just pulled the cake out of the oven, the cakes. So check them out. And I tested the middle and they are fully done. So they're just gonna sit for a while until they're ready to go into the fridge. And then we will ice them. All Alright, so our cakes have been cooled down in the refrigerator for a couple hours now, and so is our icing. And what I decided to do is to add some berries to add some sweetness to this cake and, you know, make it look pretty. So I have some organic blueberries here, and then some organic strawberries that I cut up into slices. And I'll be using that to kind of layer it into the frosting to add a little bit of sweetness and just make it look nice too. So I'm going to take the cakes and we're going to add a layer of icing on top of one, and then we're going to add the other cake to the top of the other and add some blueberries and strawberries. I wanted to show you. So here's our cake. So these look beautiful. They smell wonderful. Hopefully they taste wonderful. So I'm just going to choose this as my base cake. And I'm going to get my beautiful frosting out here. There it is. It's been cooling for a couple hours. And basically all I'm going to do is just add a layer on top here. And then we're going to place in some of these berries to add a little sweetness and, you know, just make it look nice when we slice it on the side. So I'm just going to be very gentle with this icing. You could even maybe warm it up just to make sure that you're not like peeling into the cake. That you don't want to take the top layer of the cake off. So we're just going to be nice and gentle with layering this out. So just making a layer on top here. Okay, so I did a layer of the icing on top, and we don't see any cake underneath it. It's just a nice layer of the icing, not too thick, but you know, just enough where it's substantial. And then now we're adding the sliced strawberries to lay as a flat layer on top of that first layer of frosting. All right, this is going to be the hard part. So we've got this one, the second cake frosted up. We're going to flip it over for the frosting side to basically sandwich the strawberries. So I thought this was going to be a brilliant idea. Who knows what's about to happen? You might see a total tragedy here with the whole cake falling apart. But here we go. So I think Fast and Furious is going to be the best. Oh yeah. Wow, that was perfect. Check it out, it sandwiched it perfectly. I can't believe how lucky I just got. All right, so I'm going to just press, get the strawberries sandwiched. That looks beautiful. It smells beautiful too. Okay, so now we're going to add the top layer for the icing. Oh wow, that was a lot of work. So I'm not going to move this too much, but there it is. There's the second layer all covered with frosting. And the last thing we need to do is place the blueberries. So I'm going to go ahead and just place these randomly on top. A little press in here. And our cake will be done. Hey guys, the cake is done. Check it out. It's beautiful. So hopefully it tastes as good as it looks. I think it will be because I did take a little tiny bite of the cake, and with the icing, it's really good. So just adding the fruit with it is going to take it over the top. So I hope you enjoyed this recipe for a keto berry layered birthday cake. Enjoy.